All right, somebody got removed. All right, hi, I'm Connie Miller, and I'm in the technology department up here at Bossier Schools. And today we're going to talk about Google Classroom and slides. And we're going to focus a little more on slides and how to do different things in slides today. If some of you are having trouble listening today, you can go to the bottom of your Meet and turn on closed captions. So if you run your mouse down along the bottom of your screen, you can turn captions on. It will not turn it on for everybody else, and it only turns it on for your screen. Nobody else will see it. Also, if you're recording, you can turn captions on for you, and it will not come on the recording. It does not record that. So if you're trying to follow along and do what I do in a slide presentation as we go today, you might want to split your screen. The Alt and the bracket will do it on a Chromebook. The Windows key and the arrow key will do it on a Windows device. So in the bottom left-hand corner of your keyboard, you hold the Windows key down and press the arrow key at the same time. So if you notice up here at the top, I have a tab pinned and one open. So I want to split my screen here. I'm going to hold my Windows key. We got to do it together. So I'm going to hold my Windows key and press an arrow, and I can take this extra Bossier Schools tab that I have open and put them side by side, and my screen is split in half. Therefore, I can follow the presentation on one side, and I can open a Google Drive doc over here and take notes on the side, or open a slide and do the same thing I'm doing with y'all. So I'm going to put this one back over here, and to undo the split screen, you just expand your screen again. And if you noticed up here, I have my tab pinned. That's why I cannot close my slideshow. I will not lose the presentation. And to do that, on an open tab like the Bossier Schools, you right click on it, go down to pin, and therefore you cannot close it by mistake. Right click on it and unpin, then you can close that tab. That way you don't take a chance of losing the presentation during this session and having to find it again. So I'm going to quickly review slides in case someone's new. Some of these slides some of y'all have seen. Classroom is a way for weekly communications. We don't know what school looks like in August. We might be half and half. We might be virtual all the way. We might be in classrooms. Some of us, it's a little bit of everything. So you can put your weekly notifications, your upcoming projects, your class activities, everything in one spot. You can also have paperless everything. You can put your reference materials for your students. You can assign documents. You can collect documents. You can collaborate and discuss with your students. Also, we are meeting right now on a Google Meet. Our students will be allowed to use Google Meet this year. Google has updated their settings in Google Meet, and we can control it a little more. They will not be able to use chat in Classroom, and they will not be able to use Zoom with teachers for this coming school year. Last year, we ran Zoom through Clever, and it will not run through Clever this year. Zoom will not be supported through the Clever link at all this year. It will be supported on the student and teacher meetings will only be supported through Meet in Classroom. You can also have notifications with your parents easily. Once your students join the classroom, the parents can receive guardian emails through Classroom. You will have to put your parent emails into the classroom. With a classroom, your students can access it from anywhere. It's all web-based, and your students receive up-to-date materials. If for some reason your materials are current in your classroom, and like last March, we go home all of a sudden, then yes, everything is up to date and they can have access to it right away. Assignments can be a whole group. They can also be by just individuals in the class. They can be by RTI groups, enrichment, or interest-based. By that, I mean you can facilitate your students by giving them a choice. You come up with a unit and give them choices of what they would like to learn about. So if you're new to the district or we have some visitors with us today. So if you're new to the district or in your district and you click on Create a Classroom and you selected teacher, your Google admin probably puts you in like a holding area until they can approve you, because students can also select to be a teacher, and then that way they approve you to be a teacher. So as a teacher, you need to be able to join a class and create a class. If you cannot create the class, then you need to email the person in your district to be able to create the class. And that's all that amounts to, is you need to be able to create the class. When you create your classes, you need to remember that when you name your class, it needs to be called Mrs. Smith's math class, block 1, block 2. It does not need to label your children in any way. If you teach a specialty class like speech, do not call it speech class. Do not call it autistic. The autistic class, do not call it special ed. Call it Mrs. Smith's class. Do not call it anything that would label the children in any way. If you have any questions about that, talk to your special ed department about how to name them, because you really don't want to label the students in any way. You can name it Mrs. Smith's ELA class, block 1, and that's not labeling the students. All the students in there might have the same exceptionality, but you're not labeling them by calling your class out with a title like that. So a couple of classroom things that you need to know when you do create that name and that class name is whatever you name it, parents will see from the student side, and we'll pop into a student class in a minute, because when they click on the People tab, they can see all the students in that class, and they will be able to see that class name. You also want to set your class up if students can comment or if only teachers can comment. If you put it to where your students can comment, you need to teach them how to comment. And you can regenerate your code if your code gets out and you want, and parents have it and they're joining, regenerate your code or turn your code off. It's your choice. So the gear shift up here is where you set your classroom settings. And that's where you decide if you want your students to comment or only the teacher can comment to the students. Now, students can always send a private comment to the teacher. Guardian emails, in this slideshow, I gave you a link here that explains these in more detail. You can, once a student joins your class, you can invite the parent to receive these daily or weekly notifications. And all it does is tell them the work that was done this week, a summary, and what's coming up next week. It does not give them the worksheet or the actual homework. It only gives them a summary of what is being done and tells them the due date. That's all it does. It does not give them all the reference materials, nothing. It's a summary of student work or class activity for the week. The classwork part that you probably need to know about, the most important thing is if you want everybody to have their own copy. If you don't want students typing over each other's copies, or everybody to type on the one document, then you need to assign every student their own copy, or they will all type on the same document. And depending on the age of your students, this could get kind of hairy because they will all type on the same document. Now, if they're older students, you can assign it and tell them to make their own copy. However, younger students, you need to assign them their own copy. And it's as you create the assignment, you give them the template. You will either say students can view the file, students can edit the file, and when it says students, it means every student you assign it to, or you give every student their own copy, and it will put their first name, their last name, and the name of your assignment on every student's copy. When I do work for Classroom, I start in the drive. And the reason you start in your drive is so it's organized. Because people, when we first started saying you have to work in Classroom, well, I can't ever find anything in my drive. Well, that's a personal preference because you have to be organized. Your drive is your filing cabinet. You have to realize EDU, G Suite EDU has unlimited storage. And I build mine to where I auto convert everything to a Google Doc. Because if you use Word docs in Drive or PowerPoints in Classroom or Word docs in Classroom, students cannot write on them and work on them. They will have to be able to convert them to a Google or a G Suite document or PowerPoint. So your best bet is to convert them. You also can set up your drive to work offline. So I put this slide in here to show you where to do that. In your drive, there is a gear shift, and you can set your drive to work offline. The key here is to be on the same device. So if you work on a Chromebook at home, set that Chromebook to work offline. And if you lose internet and you're working on your lesson plans or whatnot, it will save automatically when you get back to the internet. This little check mark right here means that you are safe. You can work on your documents, but when you tie back to the internet, it will update them in your drive. Also, you can see these options that you have for your drive only once you select something. So the key is when you start creating a slide or a doc or a form, start in your drive, then go to your Classroom and assign it. The ticket is no matter what you're starting, if you don't organize it from the front end, from your end, you'll never find it. And Classroom makes its own folders. I never go to my Classroom folders. I always work in Classroom. But you have to have a lesson plan or a template somewhere. So in your drive, these are some things that will save you if you lose internet or if your device goes offline for a bit. And like I just said, when creating new slides, I always go to my drive. I click on New, and I go down to whatever I'm creating, doc, sheets, slides, or go to More. But today we're going to do slides. And we're going to talk about different things. And these slides tell you different things that you can do. So the first thing we're going to do is you can change the size of your page, just like you can change the format of a document. So we're going to click on a new tab. And if you want to open a new tab, you can. And I'll tell you what, we'll work side by side, just like I showed you. So I'll take this new tab and put it here. Well, I thought I would. And I'll open my drive with the apps launcher. And so since I save everything in the same place, I'll go put this in our training. We work in shared drives. and everything is saved in the same place. So I will save this one too. So for today, I will start a new slide. And for this one right here, every time you open up a slide, it offers themes. If you don't want to pick a theme like this, you don't have to. It will give you the first slide available. It also has the layout to go through all the slides and just keep going. However, I rarely use those. I do my own. It will give you, click a title. If you're not going to use their title, I highly recommend you click on it, get the dots with the lines, and delete that text box. People will leave that on there every time. So the first thing you need to do is size your slide or title it. So let's go slide example. I can't spell it. Tired. All right. I'll go all the way down to page setup and select it. So you can select a widescreen, the standard, or you can even do custom slides. So if you want your slides to be different sizes, and yes, we have used different ones, you can change your slide to make more of a square shape, depending on what size you're needing, depending on what you're needing. These are wider, the ones I'm using right now. Sometimes you need a taller slide. I download a lot of slides for like Twitter. They don't need to be this tall. The wider version works a little better. So it depends on what you're building them for and what you want them to look like. So go to page setup and you can change it. These two aren't very different. I've even changed them to go the opposite. So you can change them any way you want and make them very tall. So if you're building whatever you want, you can change your slide just like a sheet of paper and change it like that. The other thing you can do for a slide, and I'm going to open this, it's hard to see. Download a slide. If you are downloading slides, you can download a slide into a PDF, and that saves it as an image, and then you can upload it into a Word doc or something else. So now this slide show is the whole thing is a set of pictures. You can also save it. That was a PDF, that one was. Let's go do it as a JPEG. Oh, that one takes longer. That is the one slide just as an image. So it depends on how you need to download it. Sometimes you just need this one slide. You see how I had it highlighted? It only took the one slide. If you need all of them, you highlight all of them and you download them all. The background, well, let me show you another thing. If you have this highlighted, notice I cannot select background because I have an image selected. You have to be on the background of your slide to be able to select background. You have choices here. You can upload something from your computer, your camera, your photos, your drive, or you can go to Google and search. So You can search for flowers. Do know that these get busy and they're hard to put things on top of, because what I have on this slide right now is going to be, if you say add to the theme, it will put it on every one. If I just say done, it only goes on that one. When you do slides, do you see how hard this gets to read right here? You have to pay attention and move it over and make sure you can read it and it's not in the background. So I can move this one down and now I can read it. The biggest thing is people get to making slides pretty and then they forget you can't read it right here. Can you change the background of the text box? You can. So what you do is you click on your text box. Once you have it highlighted like this, if whatever's highlighted is what you're changing. So you see the paint can and you can fill it with color. So right now it's on transparent. So I'm going to click it again. And then if you want a custom background, right now it's this red, but you can change the transparency to very light and make it a very light color. And then the background still shows through the text background. So it is very similar to Microsoft. However, it's something you have to learn to play with. And let's see. And it's just the tools are in different spots. That's all. The one thing is it will work in Classroom where the Microsoft won't load the same way and be manipulative for the students. So the other part of this is this background stayed on that one slide. I didn't have it go to the others. So if I click on the background again and get off of the text box, I have my background back here again. You can also change the theme or the transition when I'm on the background, but I didn't change anything else on this one. So it takes time to build your slides. They don't have to be fancy for your students, especially if you're going in here. If you notice the box up here, the text box, to do this one up here, this is strictly a text box. So what I did was I inserted a text box. I put fill color in it, and then I put a border color. I made the border weight 8. The other thing I did to this text box was put a hyperlink in it to the Google support page for slides. So if you click on this page, it takes you to what can you do with slides, and you have access to everything for slides because it changes so much. I can show y'all how to do all this, but it changes that fast. So other things you can do here is you can animate each thing. So to animate, you click on an object, then you can come over here. There are no transitions right now. So if I want to fade this in, and all your options are over here on the right. So when you click on the object, so this image, right now it's going to fade in on the click. So you can change that. Here's all your options. And you can choose if it's on the click, previous, after it, or with it. You can also change your speed. And you can play it. And it'll show you how it does. And I think it was on the, I don't remember what it was on. You can put each one to do another one, or it depends on how animated you need your slideshow to be and how much talking you're doing. Some people put too many things on each slide. Some people put a lot. It's none. It just depends on how you need it. The slide transition, if you want to make your slides come in between slides and you can apply it to all slides, that's when they play like this. You can add transitions to your slides. So that's up here as well. It's under motion, all of it. The next slide is insert. This tab right here under insert. I'm gonna get rid of motion for now. Under insert, you can do lots of things. You can insert images. If you want to insert an image, you don't have to go to insert. You see there's also things right here. Everything listed here, a lot of it can be done here. You can insert an image from your computer, your drive, photos, a link, everything. You can also go straight to the web. So if I wanted to put a school, or I found this one by just typing in flowers. And so you can click once on an image. If you double click, it automatically puts it in here. You can also click on an image and type transparent and get transparent images so that you have a transparent background. If you build a lot of presentations, to me, this is huge because you don't want, if you have a, let me show you. If you have a background that is, let's see, bright blue. Now, which picture, do you see how the different images go on the background? If you get a transparent image, this image works better on the background than this one does, or one with a white cutout around it. That's why you do that. So if you search for a transparent image, it doesn't have the white cutout around the flower. It will just show the flower instead. Also, this flower is too large for this slide. So you can actually, if you grab this corner and pull at an angle, it keeps it in proportion. If you resize by this way, it distorts it. Or this way. So you undo. You always grab at the corner and go at an angle. And it keeps it in proportion. And you can make them as small as you need them. And keep them that way. On this one, at the insert, you can also insert special characters. Notice I had to be in the text box to get special characters. It will not highlight if I'm not in a text box. I have to be in a text box to get them. And those are all the special characters. So you can get special characters, but you have to be in a text box to get them. And I will put that on here for y'all. You can put this text box here. Notice I did not, like the slides box, text box up here, I did not put a line around it and I did not color it. So it's just words out in space. That you don't have to have a box around everything. However, on this image, you can put a border around it. You can put a color. That's your choice. You can also replace the image by going back to Google, or you can format the options. I think I have formatting down there, though. Also, this Explore button right here in the bottom right, if you click on that, Google will come up, or Slides will, and say, hey, I have a better way to make this slide. So you click on that, and apparently they're fine with the way this one looks. But if I would have made this slide different, or maybe, no, they didn't come up with a different way. Sometimes they will come in here and say, hey, I have a better way to make this slide, but they didn't come up with a different way. So maybe they like it like that one. Also on this one, where it has, you click on your picture, and you can go up here to where it says format options. You can take and resize it. You can rotate your picture. You don't have to go to format options. While it's highlighted, you have the little squares, the little blue ones. You see the dot right here? If you get the little crosshairs on that, I can turn the picture any way I want and rotate it. Or I can bring it back to 0. I can also position it in the center, top left, or leave it where it is. You can also adjust the colors. If you need a blue flower, a yellow flower, or you want to make it black and white, you can tweak the colors any way you need to here. Transparent. You can fade that picture out. If you want to write and put a text box on the top, this will allow you to write on top of images. By doing that, if you fade the picture out like that, also while your text box is highlighted, come up here, and here's all your fonts. And you can go to more fonts. You can pick however many you want. If you select the whole box, it changes everything. You can go up one size at a time, or you can type it in. Resize your box. Remember, slides need to be large so people in the back of the room can read them. You can center your text in the middle of the image, both horizontally and vertically. You can fit your text on the image there. You can also put a shadow around this. Well, I'm on the image. I don't want to do that. I want to drop a shadow on the image. You can waste a lot of time in this. So your angle of the shadow, the distance of the shadow, the blur of your shadow, or put a reflection. And that's how you dress up your slides with images. So what started as just a picture of a flower, now you have a reflection and a shadow and writing on top. Speaker notes. Speaker notes actually go down here at the bottom. Depending on how much you want to save, you grab this bar at the bottom. See the little hand? My pointer turns to a hand, and you push it up. You can type down here where the speaker notes go. But there's a cool little tool that speaker notes, under tools, you can go to voice typing. So your speaker notes can be typed. So if you don't feel like typing your own speaker notes, you can type them as you speak your notes into the slideshow. So now you don't have to type your notes. You can just speak them into your slideshow. They will print out for you. So when you get ready to print them out, you can go to your file and go down to print settings and preview. So you can go, I don't remember you can print them with notes. So if you print your slides, it will print the slide at the top and your notes at the bottom if you need to print your slides for a presentation. And we're pretty well in there. Oh, the next one, I think. And then your speaker notes will be at the bottom. So when you rehearse your presentation, your speaker notes will be at the bottom, and you don't have to type them. You can speak them into your note section, print out your notes, and they will be on your documentation. Now, also, you can also choose to just print out your slides at 6 slides per page to hand out. So you can print out your slides just to give us handouts without your speaker notes, and only have the speaker notes for you. The other thing about this is the speaker notes are strictly for you. That's your part anyway. So when you're presenting, it will show you the speaker notes, and you don't need a printed copy. It's only for you anyway. So that part's down there, and you can see it here. So when you turned it on in Tools, it popped up this little speaker right here. You click it to turn it on. It's red while it's recording, and then it goes away. You click it to turn it back off. So then the next thing I have is question and answer sessions. So we could have a question and answer session going during the presentation. So you open your presentation and by clicking the down arrow here in the presenter view. So in the presenter view, you click Audience Tools, and I'm going to start a new question and answer session. So the audience is going to see the slide. I'm gonna hide this real quick. The slideshow with this at the top. So on their device, they can ask a question. They would type and ask a question, and the presenter would get the questions here. And you can answer questions. It's kind of like having you standing in front of the room, but instead of us having the chat box on the Google Meet here, the questions would come up on the presenter's screen, which I see in the corner of the screen here. So the presenter gets the screen that's facing them with the questions coming up. And that's how the question and answer session works on a live presentation. So if you're presenting a Google slideshow, you have the option of having like a chat box going on a live presentation. Therefore, you don't have the live questions. They can ask in a chat box setting. during your presentation, just like this. The questions appear. Now, the audience will not see this. This is what you're seeing. You're on this slide. This is the one we just finished. This tells me that this slide is next. And the audience sees this one. But you, as the presenter, will get to see the questions. So that's another tool that you have in Google Slides. You can also put alt text on pictures. So you can let's see. Now I'm gonna have to find where it was. If you go to, oh, here it is. Alt text. This is if someone has a screen reader. You title the image. You give it a title, classroom, desk. You don't say this is an image of classroom desk, classroom with desk. And then if you want to give it a longer description, and that's all you would say. You don't see that here. The screen reader that's reading for the student will read it to them. If I have more than one picture, so let's search. And, well, we'll stick with the flowers. Oh dear. And you want this desk on top. So I would click on this image and I want this one behind the first one. I would click order and send to back. Notice how the desks are now on top. I want this one in the back. That is an order. It depends on which picture you want in front. You use this mostly when you want words on top of pictures. So if you had this, and then you had, you wanted to put, say you did your text box first, and then you wanted to put a picture, then you'd have to send your picture to the back. Rotate, I showed you how to rotate images a while ago. You can rotate by clicking on the right-clicking and rotating, or you just click it and grab the dot. You can rotate images by grabbing that little circle and rotating it any way you want. The format options, you can right-click again and get the same options we had a while ago. And cropping an image, that's actually cutting it. You're cutting that much of that image off and resizing it to fit what you need. So you can do that. The other is this one right here is a free, if you're a teacher planning book type person that likes to use a planner, this company made Google Slides that are a teaching planning notebook. It's a teacher planner, and they did it in Google Slides. They have a horizontal version and a vertical version. If you click on this link here, it's a free digital notebook planning book for all teachers. I found it on Twitter, so you can click on this link in the slides and get your free planner for this year. The Digital Mania, I think is the name of the company, and they gave it to everybody. So it's free just for going get it. This right here is something you can give your students. It's sort of what I've done today. It's a Google Slides scavenger hunt, and you can edit the slide deck. You download this slide deck right here with this link and make it your own. change the name on it, do whatever you want, clean it up, make it for your school, your classroom, fit you. And you might have to change some of the words on it because the lady that originally did it with Google is from Canada. And it teaches students how to do the few tools I did today. I will show you one more thing. This little tool right here, this rolling paint, if I wanted this right here to be this color, I would click there and then click there. So it turns wherever you click. I'll undo. So if I click on this box, click the rolling pin, and then see how I have the rolling pin? And then I click on this box, it changes it. It actually changed the font. So if you're copying colors from one slide to another and you want the same color and you don't know how to get it exactly because you went to custom, use this little rolling pin and it will format it exactly like it. It will change it for you. You can get all kinds of artwork here and shapes. When you assign slides in Classroom, if it's younger students, I would probably assign them one slide, have them give it back to you. Where's one I did the other day? Here's one. This is the Google Slides. This is what it looks like. Every slide is a different task, like change the background. That's not, if you do slides and you give the younger students a slide to do, then we'll assign one. So if you tell the students to do a slide and assignment, so you can tell the students, the younger ones, that you want them to make one slide, just one slide, tell them what you want on it. And it could be like a backyard scavenger hunt. Then you would take the one slide that is assigned to every student in this classroom for backyard scavenger hunt and put it in your slide deck for the whole class. If you had older students and it was the project based and it was for a whole project, you would probably have them write an assignment, and for the completion of the project, complete a slide deck of probably 15 to 20 slides. Now, for older students, you can just say, tell them how many slides you want, title slide, tell them exactly what you want. And you don't give them this. This is for younger students. So if we assign this to the boot camp class, then I go to a boot camp child and go to assignments. So for the younger child, they will have an assignment, one slide. The younger student will have this one slide to do. The older students will have to go to add and go to slides. Now notice something. For the older student, it's going to put the student's name in whatever you call the assignment. And then the older student will have the ability to add however many slides you tell them they need. But that will be your part of your directions as the teacher to tell them how many slides they need. So that's depending on what grade level you teach, depends on how you assign it. So when your older students create it, they can go here and it will name it correctly. Younger students, you give them one slide and then they can complete that one slide. Notice in this classroom for the student, and the reason I tell y'all to be careful how you name your classes is if a student clicks on people, that student and their parents can see everybody in this class. So be careful how you name it, because when they click on teachers, they see everybody's classes. And everybody in this session, please go through and archive all your previous classes. Even if you want to reuse your old work, your previous assignments, you can reuse previous assignments in archive classes. It's okay. You can go back to an archive class, but you, for the student's sake and for your sake, clean the dashboards, archive classes every year. This child should have nothing but the boot camp class that I gave him this year. So if I go back to mine and I go to the classes and I go to boot camp, if you have classwork and you go to reuse, it will take the most current ones you've used. However, if you go back, you can select any class you've ever had, even if it's an archive class, and find an archived assignment to reuse. So archive your classes to clean the dashboards up for you and your students so they don't have to decipher through all of this each year, and especially this year, because it's going to be a mess with all of us using classroom for this year. Also, since Meet is turned on for everybody, it will be right here on the top of your classroom. Students cannot start a Meet without you. You have to activate it. If you leave the Meet, the students cannot stay in it. They are kicked out. That's why it was not turned on last spring, because students were able to stay in it and talk without the teachers. So they do not have access to chat. They only have access to Meet. And they will have to be on their Bossier Schools account. If teachers get phone calls, most of the time students can't get in their classwork, it's because they're not logged into Google up here into their Chrome. They're in mom or dad's Chrome account and not their Bossier Students account. So make sure they're in their Bossier Students account, and that will be how it works. Yes, I think the original teacher has to archive the account. Is the original teacher still there, Pam? So if there's not any more questions, that's about all I have for slides. And if you don't, Pam, I would get everybody to archive their classes at school. We'll probably send an email out about that. Let me show y'all where we're saving these also. If you go to the main Bossier Schools website, because we're recording all these, go to Departments and Technology. And under the Google Apps, on this Google Apps page, we've started adding all the ones we've recorded. So as I record them or as we record them, we will put the recordings here. If you need help setting up your classroom, there's a classroom video down here. There's also some more training under training at the top right under extras. And we still have our COVID supplemental learning technology guide for teachers. It's being updated for this fall and probably will switch over to be a full website for teachers, and we're working on a parent one as well. So, but these trainings are all going under the Google Apps on the technology department site. So if y'all need anything, I will stay on for a few more minutes if answer questions, but I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. Thanks for joining us today.